Hi everybody, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a fountain pen from Visconti. It is the Visconti Breeze. Here it is in the blueberry finish. So yeah, let's have a quick look at it and see what it's all about. So, this is how the pen comes packaged. Little cardboard sleeve over the top of a box, the sort of the labelling material barcode there. Breeze written there on one end, and on the other end we get a little cutout with the Visconti V, which I think is a nice simple way of packaging. This is the entry-level pen from Visconti, and so the packaging is less extravagant, shall we say, than some of the higher end pens. But we remove that plastic sleeve and we get nice printing of Visconti there on the top of the box, which is always quite nice. Nice black cardboard, and then I shoot that's what got there. We'll push that out there, and we get a cardboard box with a little foam protective inlay, an international warranty card, which has the basic information where I got the pen from, and then the pen itself here in a plastic sleeve and set in just like a little foam inlay once again. Take it out of there and let's have a look at this pen. Now, this pen is reminiscent of a Visconti pen that's already on the market, the Rembrandt, and I'm going to show that in comparison in just a minute. But I thought what I'd do is I'd quickly cover the parts of this pen first, and then have a look at the other ones. Okay, so it is made from vegetal resin, which is quite nice, and as you can probably see, there's quite a lot of depth to the colour. This is the blueberry. There are 6 different colours. There's a yellow, an orange, a green, all the sort of standard sort of colours. I quite liked this blue. Yeah, it's basically a fairly sort of straight cylindrical pen, nothing sort of particularly, overly fancy or over the top about this pen. So let's start at the top and we'll work our way down. So it's got chrome trim, as you can see, and the clip here is the standard Ponte Vecchio clip, but slightly redesigned. I'll go into that in a second. It's hinged, and it sits on the barrel, or on the cap of the pen there. Magnetic cap, no cap band on the cap. The barrel is completely nice and round and ends up on a little silver or chrome disc in the end there, which is basically just a plug from the building of the pen. So if we take the cap off, you see that the section is made of the same material and it leads to a small nib, sort of around as a number 4 size nib. I have this in the broad, and steel, I believe they're made by Bock. Okay, so the magnetic closure of the pen is attached onto this little part of the mechanism up here, and then sits, as you might be able to just make out, there's like a little ring there, which is where the magnetic closure attaches, also sealing off the nib, keeping it nice and wet. It is a cartridge converter pen. It takes standard international cartridges, and it comes with a branded Visconti converter. And I have no issues with that whatsoever. The threads are all made of metal, so they sit on each other. What that also does is it adds a nice sort of weight to the nib end of this pen, giving it sort of a nice balance in the hand, because this material is quite light. So there's that steel nib. It's a fairly rigid nib, standard sort of plastic feed. But a nice basic pen from Visconti. Now, I said there were a couple of little redesign elements of the pen. Firstly, the cap band is no longer on the cap, it's now on the body of the pen, and so adds sort of a nice little bit of flair to that, and that says breeze, 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 and I'll talk about that in a second. Okay. And also this clip has been slightly redesigned, so it's no longer built into the cap, it sort of sits around the top of the cap there, so when you open it up it's hinged on the inside with the spring. But also the other redesign is the little upturn. Like if we look at I'll show you when I show you the Rembrandt, it's got a flat bottom on the clip there. This just adds a bit more functionality, but also when the pen is slightly different shaped, it means that sometimes the clip doesn't sit flat on the pen anyway, so this is a more sort of functional way of allowing that and fixing a little design issue with the pen. Let's have a look at it now. Firstly, there is no My Pen system on the on the Breeze, just to be aware of. A couple of things about the pen. Firstly, price. This retails from one US retailer for around the $100 mark US, and so that's sort of roughly the price you're going to find it, somewhere between 96 and 120 American, depending on where you go. Obviously, other countries are going to have it at other prices. Check out your retailers. Check out other retailers internationally, see if you can get without VAT and all of that sort of stuff. The pen comes in 4 nib sizes: extra fine, fine, medium, and broad. As I said, it's a small sort of number 4-ish nib. We've got the broad. You can make out there it says Visconti Italy, and then the 3 circles there means broad. So, yes, let's look at it in comparison now to the Rembrandt. So here is my Rembrandt, which I have the purple one here. And you can see the 2 pens are fairly similar. They're going to try and attach to each other because they've both got magnetic closures. That's fine. So a couple of main things. Firstly, is if we look at the Rembrandt, I can show you the clip, how the clip how it's got sort of flat little end on it there, as opposed to the upturned end on the Breeze. So that's a sort of a new design element. Also, so the cap band is on the barrel of the pen, body of the pen on the Breeze. The cap band is on the cap of the Rembrandt. The Rembrandt also has sort of this metal section, whereas the Breeze has the section made of the same material, which I actually prefer. I think it's a nice sort of feel. And it's a decent sort of size section in the hand, and the pen does feel nice. The pen does post, actually, I should say that. It makes it a little bit long, but because it's really light, it doesn't sort of, backweight the pen. My only concern with this would be that there's no cap band, so if you push too hard, you might crack the cap, and also you could crack the cap dropping it or anything. I'm not exactly sure about that. I suppose because the closure is further up in the pen, you're not putting the stress on this end of the pen in the closure, which is a good design element. But as you can see, the 2 pens are very, very similar. This is Visconti stepping out without stepping out. They are attaching themselves to each other. I'm going to remove the Rembrandt. We're going to do a size comparison now to the Lamy Safari here. So this is you can see it's a sort of a decent sized pen. I think most sort of pens would average in that 140mm mark, and this certainly falls into that category. It's right there at 141. So these are the measurements while we're here. 141mm capped, 164 when posted, so fairly decent length pen. But as I said, at 123 when it's uncapped, and so it's a decent sort of length in the hand. Even if you hold it further back, it's still going to sit on the webbing of your hand without any problem. The diameter of the section is about 10mm, and the pen weighs 29 grams, of which 19 are in the body and 10 are in the cap, so the balance is good. As I said, when you're writing, the balance does lead down to the nib, which is fabulous. It's just, I think, as pens really should be. Okay, let's do a writing sample. Here I have some Clairefontaine paper, and this is the Visconti. Sorry, I'm writing through the camera here. Visconti Breeze. As I said, it's got a steel nib, and this is the broad. The ink I'm using here today is Robert Oster Bondi Blue. Now, if you watched my musings video or anything like that recently, you would have seen this combination, and I think it's actually like one of the most beautiful combinations of pen and ink that I've had in a while. The shading seems to line up, just that basic sort of color match, really, really nice. So this being the broad, you are going to get a smoother writing experience than you would from like a fine or an extra fine, or you've just got more tipping on the page, so there's more chance for it to be smooth. But let's just do the quick. Oops. Etc. So you can hear that's a smooth nib. Now it does keep up as well. And no one would write that quickly. That's not even really writing. But, you know, there's no hard starts, there's no anything, no skipping, nothing. It keeps up, and it keeps up wet. Now, as I said, this is like Robert Oster Bondi Blue is a fairly wet ink. but this does put down a lovely line of ink. So certainly not an issue with flow on this pen. Reverse writing, it's a bit scratchy, but it is really, really possible. Nice. Flex, you can put a little bit of ink down on the page. I wouldn't call this nib soft, but you are opening up the tines ever so slightly. I would be concerned about springing. It is made of steel. It's not designed for this. But if you're careful, you could probably get a little bit out without too much of a problem. Okay, so, but yet, when writing with the nib, you don't notice it being soft. You do actually feel that it is quite a rigid nib, but very smooth, well tuned, like writes well under its own weight without any issue. So I don't think you can complain about how this pen writes. And, you know, for a steel nib, I think it's actually a really, really quite a nice one. So let's talk about some pros and cons. Now, I'm going to start with the cons because really there's not a lot. I like the pen in the hand. I like, you know, it's not too small. It's got a decent nib. It's fine. Now, what my only thing I don't like about this pen, and this is nitpicking. Firstly, I should say, like, there's a tiny step down there off the band there onto the section, but it's not noticeable under the hand because there's no threads. There's nothing sharp. Just wanted to point that out. But what I don't like is actually on this band, and it's the branding of the pen. The way that they have written Breeze, now, it's not really going to come up very well there. So what I might just quickly do is I might just grab the box. Now, okay, you can brand your pen however you want, and this might be because it's been trying to be a lighter, younger, something, I don't know. But to me, that just looks cheap. And when it's on the pen, in laser engraved there, or whatever that is, like, that just I don't know. For me, it's a little bit sort of childish. Now, if you're aiming this pen at a child, you know, this is an expensive pen for a child. You know, this isn't a, you know, $30 pen. This is a $100 US pen. So this pen should be aimed at all ages, all audiences. So I don't know. It just seems a little bit cheap or childish or something, and you know, I'm just not a fan. So that's the only con. Now, the pros, as I said, the nib, smooth and wet and beautifully tuned, nice broad, really like it. I really like the material of this pen. All the pens have the same sort of swirl of darker and lighter shades of the material. I love this blue, and I love the depth of colour that we get in this blue. So I'm really a big fan of that. I'm not concerned about the price of this pen. Now, you are getting an Italian-made pen with a German nib, not a Chinese-made pen, not a Chinese-constructed pen, not a rip-off of another pen, and you are spending $100 US, but there are a lot worse pens at the $100 price point than this. I think this is actually a really nice pen, and it feels nice to write with. It has a sturdy sort of feel to it. It's like this. I wouldn't put this resin under huge stress, but I don't think it's going to just break in your hand. So I'm quite happy with it, with the build quality and just the quality of the feel of this pen in the hand. The other thing I like is the magnetic cap. Now, magnetic caps have been issues with Visconti. They corrode, they fall out, all of that sort of stuff. Apparently, that element has been redesigned for these pens, so hopefully it has. But it's just so easy to cap. Like, you don't have to think about it. And on the Mirage, there's little facets that allow the pen to lock in so it doesn't turn. But this isn't turning loosely. I'm actually having to do that myself. Unlike, say, the Pinida Avatar, where it's really loose in the cap, this is secure. And it's just got a nice sort of feel to it as well. So quite happy with the magnetic cap. So overall, I think this is a really, really nice pen, and a pen that I'm glad I have, and I'd like to maybe pick up a couple more in the other nib sizes and just see what they're like. So that was the Visconti Breeze. Hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me. You can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, let me know. If there's a way you'd like to support the channel, get in touch and let's see what we can do. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you later.